The following episode was recorded 2 days prior to the release of the Rogue One teaser trailer. Later on in the episode, we complain about the fact that they've still given us nothing regarding Rogue One, but now you can completely ignore that. We did record a special episode regarding that teaser trailer, so go back and listen to that first, and now enjoy the show.
Hokey religions and ancient weapons.
Welcome to Hokey Religion, the Star Wars podcast. This is Tyler.
This is Michael.
And let's do this thing.
Hokey religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blast here, Crusade.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. So, first off, before we get into our wacky antics as usual, take a quick moment just to... something that happened this week is the voice of Admiral Ackbar / Bib Fortuna, Eric Bowersfeld, died at 93.
He was a voice of Bib Fortuna? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that either until his death
certificate.
Is that?
Did you get his death certificate in the mail?
Coupon?
A coupon?
You redeemed his death certificate.
$5 off your next death?
No, but yeah, the Eric Bowersfeld, the voice actor for apparently Bib Fortuna as well as Admiral Ackbar, he died at 93, which is
That sucks.
a pretty good age to make it to. But
And made it into the new movie
yeah,
right before. Just squeak that in.
so with him, I guess Ackbar's still going to be around. So I guess we're just going to have to get a sound alike.
Yeah, I wonder if that's going to mean he's going to be cut back or anything. He's not really like
I
a
doubt it.
central character, is he? Really?
He didn't say all that much in the.
What did he? I
episode
don't
7.
even remember what he said. It was something throwaway.
Something blabbily.
Something basically like,
Yeah,
see, look, we put Ackbar in the movie.
yeah, he's still around. No, but I thought that was pretty sad.
He should have had a bigger role, actually, now that I think about it.
Well-
He's pretty important.
The thing is
For him to
well,
leave the Republic, as
yes,
influential as he
there's
is.
a very important story. I'm sure at some point they will eventually fill us in on what happened between, the.
We talk about this every
I know.
episode.
At some point we will get that story.
There's this
but yeah,
huge
the
gap.
fact that Ackbar went with the Resistance is a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, same thing with Leia, too, I guess, even though she's probably more, what's the word? Disenfranchised?
yeah,
What's the word?
but Ackbar's been heavily a part of it for so long.
Yeah. He was pretty heavily entrenched in the Republic.
Yeah. I mean, even if you go back to,
But again, so was Leia.
if you go back to like the Clone Wars with stuff with Ackbar, and he was around and involved.
He was not an admiral then, though.
No, he was not. He was younger,
Right.
but obviously because it was in the past. But
It's good.
yeah,
Good deducing
no, but
there.
I mean, just the fact that he's been on that side and with them for a very long time.
Mhm.
Whereas Leia was around and involved, but probably not as much so in the general.
Well, Bail Organa was involved pretty heavily.
Yeah, but she wasn't a general as long as
No,
he
but
was
she
an
was
admiral.
around that
Yeah.
her whole life, basically.
Yeah, but he was Admiral Ackbar for a long time.
Ever
He
since
was
A New Hope, I assume, right? Or no, probably
before
not.
that.
Before that?
I would think so.
An admiral?
If the if the rebellion was around at that point, I would assume he was doing stuff with it.
I've never kept up with Akbar's history, like pre-Jedi.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what he was doing, we know where he came
We don't
from.
have... I'm sure there were stories about that, but we don't have the canon of that now.
Yeah.
Um,
I know a bunch of stories from the old EU about after Return of the Jedi, what Ackbar did. Like,
yeah.
there was that whole invasion of Mon Calamari.
Hmm.
Remember that?
Yeah, that was a long time ago
That was...
when I read that.
It was... Palpatine created these, like, world eaters. You remember that? You remember that? Was this the cloned Palpatine, or... I don't know. You have any idea what I'm talking about?
It's been
You don't
so
remember any
long
of this?
since I looked at any of that stuff.
There are these floating...
There was so much EU that it all started to run together.
This is why I was so upset when they got rid of this because I got so invested.
A lot of it was so ridiculous, though, too.
Yeah, but it was fun to read.
Yeah.
That reminds me, I was watching Rebels earlier, and they used a ship design that was in one of the old Star Wars schematic books.
Oh, really?
Some hangar ship that I remember. I don't know if they had pulled it from a comic for that book or they just created it for the book, but
yeah,
they used the ship design for it in Clone Wars or in Rebels, so it's
that's
like
cool.
Real canon now. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, we used that for a segue for the Rebels season 2 finale happened.
Yes. I actually, so we're recording. I'm going to defend myself before you say anything about it. We're recording this episode a little earlier than we normally do, like earlier in the scheduling timeline the week.
Yeah.
And I would have gotten to the finale by the time that we would have recorded normally. I'm watching season 2 right now.
Yeah.
So I would have come prepared.
I was only on like episode 5, but I went ahead and watched the
you
pertinent
skipped
parts
ahead.
of the finale because with any TV show, there's the in-between episodes where it's not that important to the overall story.
There's an episode where they go back to a Jedi temple on Lothal in the middle somewhere of the second half of season 2.
Yeah.
And apparently Yoda's involved.
Yeah.
somehow.
I know Yoda. Yeah, Yoda's back involved some.
Yeah.
But obviously with the finale, which if you haven't watched it, too bad. I'm going to talk about it. So Darth Maul's back.
Yeah.
Uh,
I
which-
read about that.
and he hates the Sith because they basically left him for dead twice. And he's gunning for Ezra. He actually takes him through a Sith temple, like through like the trials. of the
Oh,
Sith
to like
temple,
recruit him?
trying to
The trials, the Sith
like through,
trials?
like you know how the Jedi they go through the trials in a Jedi temple, and like a Jedi you know like when they got their kyber crystals and
Is that what Luke went through
Clone
when he
Wars
went
and
through
stuff.
the cave on Dagobah? Was that his trials?
that was something. Sure,
Was something?
That was
It was something.
Yeah, but that wasn't like going through. You know how in Clone Wars how they went through that
Right.
temple and they had all the visions and various things like that.
There was that arc about building their lightsabers and
Yeah.
all that stuff. Yeah.
Maul is, basically trying to coax Ezra over to the dark side, or to his side because he doesn't align with the Sith anymore because he hates them.
Yeah.
Which I thought it was awesome that Filoni kept all of the voice actors for the original characters. So they got Darth Maul from Clone Wars, that voice actor, to play
Nice.
Darth Maul in Rebels as well.
Sam Witwer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so that was, one big storyline. So now Ezra's struggling with the dark side.
Huh. Interesting.
With, I think he's not like turned, but he's struggling with thoughts about it.
Yeah.
Apparently, I read more than I watched. I watched the Ahsoka part, which was the end. But apparently Kanan is blind now, or at least for now.
Really? Blinded by Vader or
Something that happened. I honestly didn't read. That wasn't as important to me as the stuff with Ahsoka. That's
did
what I
you
really
watch
cared
the
about.
thing or did you just read about it?
I watched the end part with Ahsoka,
Oh, I see.
and then I read about.
So you really skipped ahead.
I really did. Yeah, because the big thing was there was a showdown with Ahsoka and Darth Vader. And
Right. And at the end of season 1, Ahsoka kind of got a hint that Vader might be Anakin.
yes,
Or like she felt some kind of connection there, and
she knows it's him now.
Oh, okay.
And she actually cuts off part of Darth Vader's helmet. You see half his face.
Weird. Okay.
It's not as destroyed as Egghead in Jedi, but
Well, he's just sitting there and
he's
molded.
obviously he's still a lot younger looking behind the helmet, so
Oh.
you could see, you could see his face, which was cool.
Yeah.
And
All his hair burnt off, right?
It's just the front of his face, not
Oh.
like his whole head. And and kind of like Maul, the opposite version of Maul, she is very disenfranchised, obviously, by the Jedi
Yeah.
from them basically turning her away too.
Right.
So she doesn't align with anyone. And then it's left very ambiguous whether she is killed or not by Vader.
Interesting.
They leave it very open-ended. Filoni is not saying whether she is alive or dead. He's like, well, it's whatever you want to think it is type thing. But he's saying that she may be in other things, but this was kind of his way of ending her storyline on Rebels.
Wow.
So
Okay.
he said if we see her again, it'll probably be in another Star Wars television show if we do. And then they made shirts that say like I think they made shirts that said Ahsoka lives. Like
Who's
before,
they?
Like Filoni and
Really?
Yeah, they have shirts and the voice actress. So now they were talking about like making
Ashley
them, like,
Tisdale or whatever. Her name is.
yes, the girl from Zack and Cody. So, I can't remember her name, right
It's
now.
something like that, isn't it?
Isn't it Eckstein? Isn't her last name Eck?
Ecclestein,
Sure.
Ben Stein.
So yeah, so there's a lot of theories going around with about Ahsoka right now, because there's actually at the end of the episode, there's like this little puffy, like owl-looking bird. I forget what they're called. But there's one earlier in Rebels as well that you see with in the same scene with Ahsoka, and it's the same color scheme as the daughter from Clone Wars, the light side. Remember that weird planet they went to, and Ahsoka was like made evil, and the daughter sacrificed herself for Ahsoka.
Right.
It's the same color scheme as the daughter, and it's in two different scenes. It's at the end, like when you're not sure if Ahsoka's alive or dead.
Yeah.
But it's also prior when they were talking about or planning to go to this planet where this all happened. So one theory is that the daughter is somehow spirited or empowered Ahsoka when she did that back in the Clone Wars. Or it's just Filoni just being Filoni, trying to lead us to other things. But
you're saying her spirit was like
something
attached to Ahsoka somehow?
Somehow maybe protecting her.
Oh.
No one's really quite
following
sure.
her around or something.
But one thing that another theory I saw too is there's a quote from Ahsoka in the episode where she's like, to something about like to know your enemy, you have to understand your enemy type thing.
Okay.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Almost leading you to believe that she's like going to study the dark side to understand Anakin.
Weird.
So someone's crazy theory, which is very far-fetched, was that so in between Empire and Jedi, Luke gets a little darker. Obviously the black outfit, he acts his
he
fighting,
does get more
his fighting's a little darker, his just everything, like his
and
understanding of the Force is almost a little darker.
And the first thing that you see him do in Jedi is he walks in and he like screws up those guards' stomach, the Gamorrean guards.
Yeah.
He like screws them up and like almost just kills them basically.
Yeah,
like
so
he does some crazy stuff.
someone's theory was
And then
that,
like threatens Jabba.
yeah. So someone's theory was that in between, obviously he trained with Yoda in Empire, and he's still hanging out with Yoda in Jedi, but somewhere in between that he like trained with Ahsoka somehow, if she's still around, or that she was part of his training or teaching somehow, and that she taught him some stuff, try to help, even though she's not a Jedi, but if she has any
Vader's
learnings,
apprentice. That's
yeah, something like that. Obviously that's a very far-fetched theory, but I thought that was if they can build her into like the canon of never seeing her, but in throughout. I don't know. I don't think anyone wants Ahsoka to ever die. She's just everyone wants her to always be there. That's like even Filoni can't kill her off like in a show. He can't kill her in Clone Wars. He's not killing her in Rebels yet.
Yeah.
Same thing with Maul. He brought him back and he's not killing him off either.
I don't understand the thing about Darth Maul. Like, I think it's time for him to. It's time for him to go.
Away. Yeah, I can see him having an on-screen death in Rebels. Like I can see that happening.
Maul?
Yeah.
Is he still around at the end of season 2?
Yeah, he's still around.
Huh. Okay.
He's the one. So I know you're watching it, but he actually Kanan and some other people, and I think Ezra, they get in a fight with they're still dealing with the whatever the names are, like the fifth brother and the third brother and all
the Inquisitors.
They're fighting. I think they're fighting like 3 or 4 of them.
There were 3, I think.
They're fighting
the last
all
time
3
I
at
saw.
the same time.
Yeah.
And they actually end up that Maul like jumps in and he ends up killing all 3 of them.
Really?
So they kind of
single-handedly?
I kind of liked that they did that, just so that none of the Jedi had to had to kill anyone. Like no one had to take any lives, and Maul did it himself.
Hmm.
Like they stayed pure, they stayed clean.
I guess
Which is not the Jedi. I mean, the Jedi obviously
they're constantly killing stormtroopers. I don't understand that.
I thought that was kind of interesting.
Okay.
But yeah, the Ahsoka stuff, I don't know where it's gonna go.
I feel like Ahsoka should have more of a resolution than just.
And I think obviously
that
Filoni's just he's got to bring her back in something else. We've already been told that. I don't know if we talked about this or not, but apparently Rebels was only ever supposed to be 3 seasons.
Yeah, I sent you this article.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there's supposed to be some show after Rebels. Yeah.
But set between Jedi and Force Awakens.
Yes.
That's what the next...
It's later.
Yeah.
But I can imagine we'll get whatever... He's got to give us a resolution to Ahsoka. That's in something, instead of just always leaving her ending open.
Yeah, it seems kind of dumb. I don't know. But yeah, so Rebels is rumored to end with the next season
starting this year.
What?
This fall.
Starting to air?
Yeah, it's supposed to.
Really?
Season 3, I believe, is supposed to air this.
I thought
this year. I think.
I thought they just finished, like in March, season 2.
Yeah, they did.
Or the season 2 episode finale was just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
So are you sure it's this year?
Season 3 is supposed to start this year, unless they meant production.
Maybe, because what's rumored to happen is season 3 is supposed to fill in the gap between everything that's going on in Rebels right now and Rogue One, and kind of lead into Rogue One, and have Rogue One kind of take you from that short 5-year period to A New Hope. Kind of fill in some of those gaps there. So.
Here's from Wikipedia. The season is currently in production and will premiere sometime in 2016. Season 3 is supposed to premiere.
So before Rogue One, then? Because Rogue One is the end of this year.
Yeah, so I guess it'd be in the fall.
Interesting. So I wonder if we're going to get like a quick...
Maybe, some Rogue One characters could appear in Season 3.
Well, yeah, Gareth Edwards, or not Gareth Edwards, the writer... It was like the screenplay writer or something for Rogue One wrote a couple episodes of Rebels.
Yeah, so maybe they'll
Gary Whitta, I think is his name.
Maybe they're starting it earlier in the fall, and then when Rogue One comes out, those episodes will air, and you'll get to see some characters from Rogue One in the show. So
yeah, maybe
kind of lining it up, kind of how Marvel did with some Captain America and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. type thing.
Sure. Yeah.
That'd be interesting. That's cool.
Yeah, just to be able to see. Man, we still haven't heard anything new about Rogue One.
All we know is the actors and one character's name.
It's being kept so under wraps. It's kind of crazy.
Apparently, there's still casting rumors coming out, like as of this week.
They're still shooting stuff?
I didn't think they were.
Oh, you mean like? Well, what do you mean by casting rumors?
I think
just people that are in the movie.
A UK, I think it was a paper magazine or something, announced or there had a rumor that supposedly there's this British comedian actor was supposedly cast in Rogue One, but like
a long time ago,
they just found out type thing. But I thought they were done. I thought it was in post-production already.
Well, yeah, there's no way that they could still be unless they're doing reshoots.
So unless
or
people
something.
were maybe doing voices for droids or background stuff.
That's true. Maybe some kind of post-production thing. Do you remember
yeah.
who the comedian was?
I did not recognize his name, so I can't remember it, but he was from a 1980s show called Bottoms. Yeah, so
It's like every British comedy.
Yeah, Bottoms, Fannies, whatever name they give it. So we talked about Ahsoka, and they actually announced since our last episode there's going to be an Ahsoka young adult novel, but I mean at this point the young adult novels have been good enough.
Played out? Oh.
No. The young adult novels have been good enough that I would just call it a novel without sex or language. Right?
Is that the title?
Yeah. Ahsoka without sex or language.
A novel without sex or language.
No, it's announced for October 11th, 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And let me take a look. Yeah, it's a young adult novel. And it's gonna
backstory or filling in gaps, I guess.
Filling in after she left the Order, quote left the Jedi Order.
Between that and Rebels, I guess.
Yeah, something like that. Basically, it's going to tell the story, supposedly telling the story between that and how she became Fulcrum.
Cool.
It's pretty cool because I always wanted to find out what happened with Ahsoka between that time, and then all we got before or now is just she appeared in Rebels as Fulcrum working with the Rebellion. So it's going to fill in some of that.
Yeah, so I wonder
how she got to that point of helping the Rebellion.
I wonder if she got back in touch with them, or they went and found her out, or I wonder how that worked out.
Yeah, the announcement says, following her experiences with the Jedi and the devastation of Order 66, Ahsoka is unsure she can be part of a larger whole ever again, but her desire to fight the evils of the Empire and protect those who need it will lead her right to Bail Organa and the Rebel Alliance. So it's going to fill in whatever she did after she left that.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be nice. We'll get that story. We won't get whatever Filoni left us off with from Rebels, but we'll get how she got to that point, which will be cool because I mean she's definitely a fan favorite character.
Yeah, surprisingly.
I liked her more than I liked Anakin in Clone Wars.
In Clone Wars?
I did, yeah.
They gave Anakin so much more depth in Clone Wars than he had in the movies.
Yes, they did, and they helped the character.
I didn't like the idea.
I still thought he was pretty annoying in Clone Wars.
I didn't think he was that annoying. No? I thought they actually explained a lot of his whininess in a way, not justified it because it was way too much.
Still.
But I don't know, like they gave him they gave him more depth basically.
Oh, yeah, they did, but I mean Ahsoka was a big part of that.
I don't know. They kind of explained his desire to like how he's always fighting, he gets angry so quickly and very reactionary. I don't know, they kind of explained all of those like personality traits a little more in Clone Wars.
I mean, yeah, they did.
I never liked the idea of him having an apprentice though. No. It just seemed weird.
I don't know. I thought she was really cool.
I guess that kind of explained that the Jedi were so like overconfident that they gave him an apprentice when he wasn't even really ready for anything.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, speaking of Ahsoka, I don't know if have you seen her new lightsabers?
The white ones?
Yeah, they're white. They're like neutral.
Yeah.
So she's just like neutral party lightsaber.
That's pretty cool.
I thought that was a really cool idea. Yeah.
They were very the hilts were very cool looking too. They reminded me of Count Dooku's
a little bit.
Hilts. Not as curved as much, but very smooth and stylish.
Yeah, they're really cool.
They're pretty sweet.
I could see them coming out with a white like Force Effects saber for that. For Ahsoka.
That'd be pretty neat.
Then you have to buy two. They get you. That's how they get you.
Oh, it's only packaged with one, but you have
just
to buy...
one, so you have to buy two. They know what they're doing. They know how to get your money.
That's true.
I saw on Reddit this past week that someone said they should sell a General Grievous pack with 4 lightsabers in it for like $800. But you can
all his lightsabers that he's collected.
Yeah, you can only get them through the $800 Ford lightsaber pack.
Jeez.
I could see them doing that too. Probably not before Ahsoka.
That'd be huge.
But
are they like Force Effects lightsabers?
Yeah,
like
this
giant package.
I guess they're the Black Series. They're calling them the Black Series sabers now.
Oh, really?
So like the new Kylo Ren, nice one it's a Black Series.
Oh,
but I could see them doing that. Just a 4-pack of just 4 generic colored lightsabers, but calling it the General Grievous pack.
Wow,
be pretty funny.
Is the Kylo Ren the Black Series saber? Is that the one with the? I guess it's not a glass blade, is
like
it?
Plexi.
Yeah, but it's like a hard, clear plastic, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
with the nice metal hilt and everything.
The Force Effects sabers, but they're marketed as Black Series now.
Is it a metal hilt or is it plastic?
I believe they're metal.
Nice.
Yeah, and they're supposedly putting out Luke's green Jedi saber this fall. Supposedly. That's
this
the next
fall.
one.
Because he's going to be using it, probably.
That's true. guess
Right?
they
He'd
could
be
market
using it.
They could just sell the same lightsaber in 3 different packages. Anakin, Luke, Ray. But it's the same lightsaber, it just has a different name on each box.
Different packaging and everything.
They just changed that one part with what lightsaber it is.
They could do a 4th one, have Obi-Wan in there for a little while, and include like the chest
And
that it
it's
was
just
in.
the hilt. It's just the hilt. There's no blade on
It's
it.
a chest with the hilt
It's just
inside.
the box with the hilt inside.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny. Just like cobwebs on it.
Be a way to get you.
That'd be really funny. Oh. Speaking of Obi-Wan, so there's been rumors for a while about Ewan McGregor coming back for Obi-Wan.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually talked with, I guess there was an interview with Collider about it, about, if there might be an Obi-Wan movie coming out. His answer, they asked if he'd talked to Kathleen Kennedy about it.
Yeah.
And his answer was, I'm not sure I'm at liberty to say, really, but I'm very interested in doing that. That would be great. Maybe there's even a trilogy. And then he laughed.
Ewan McGregor!
Yeah. So, with that response, he's probably talked to Kathleen about it. It's probably been in conversation. There's not...
Well, how long have people been asking for this? I mean, ever since
the
prequels.
Star Wars movies were announced.
Well, ever since the prequels,
Well,
right?
yeah.
Weren't they? It's been a while.
I don't think you could pull off a trilogy. That's
You
a
don't
lot
think so?
of... Well,
They made
They
The Hobbit
could-
into a
they could-
trilogy, and they
Don't-
had no
don't.
idea what they were doing with that movie.
yeah, and we saw what
Literally.
happened. And we saw what happened with that. That's what I'm saying. They
That's what
could-
I'm saying.
They could make a trilogy.
Right, they
It could
could.
be horrible.
Exactly.
It's
It's not that
they
it's
could make a
impossible.
trilogy and it would be horrible.
There was a bug. That's why I was doing that.
That's why you're waving your arms. You're not just angry.
Stop talking.
Trying to flag me down right here. I could see them doing an Obi-Wan, like one of the anthology movies they're doing in between. I could see
Just
there being,
one?
I
What
could
would
see
the
there being
story
an
be,
Obi-Wan
though?
movie.
For just one movie.
I mean, obviously he was on Tatooine for a while, watching over Luke, and some of that's talked about in the comics. And
Yeah.
even left Luke his like diary of stories.
Yeah.
But
Diarrhea of stories. They could make, it doesn't have to be a trilogy. It could be 2 movies.
a duology. That's the term.
A duology, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
At least that's what I've heard used before.
Has that ever happened before?
Just a duology, just 2 movies.
Yeah.
If a second one does well, I don't think they've ever not made a third because they knew it
That's
would
what
make more money.
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Weekend at Bernie's.
There was a Weekend at Bernie's too?
Yeah.
Tarzan. There's a Tarzan too.
Well,
Was there a
that's
Tarzan
that's
3?
Every Disney movie is a duology. Then they've made at least 2
That's
of
true.
almost every Disney movie.
Fox and the Hound. There was a second one of those.
I don't think there's been another.
Lilo and Stitch. There's a second one of
there's
those.
a VOD second movie of
Yeah,
every
that's
Disney
true.
movie.
You think they would do that here? A VOD Obi-Wan movie?
And it's like it's just like a cartoon instead of like there's a live action movie and they just did a cartoon instead.
Obi-Wan moves to California.
Obi-Wan Reloaded. Yeah, I don't. A trilogy, I think, would be a hard push to have that much happen with Obi-Wan with the time he was with Luke.
Yeah.
Like the time he's watching over Luke on Tatooine. Like, he needs to watch over Luke, so I can't imagine he's doing all that much. He's probably not leaving Tatooine.
Yeah, is it like the Diary of Obi-Wan? Would that be basically what
There's like
the movie would have to be?
there's like chapters and a narration. It's like him telling the story.
Yeah.
Like Princess Bride with the grandpa reading the book.
That's basically what it would have to be, right?
I don't know.
If it was just him watching over Luke, because he doesn't get into any trubs,
I guess.
does he?
It's just a new hope again from his perspective.
Ugh.
Oh, this kid, this stupid idiot, he's so whiny. It's just the whole movie is him complaining about Luke. I don't know.
What would it be?
I mean, I don't know what it would be about. In the comics, I mean, obviously.
Maybe it could be. Well, no, because he settled down on Tatooine pretty much right away.
I mean, on
because he dropped
Tatooine,
Luke off.
I know you
right?
haven't read the comics and the parts with his diary, but he helped deal with stuff that was happening on Tatooine that wasn't just watching over Luke.
So he was like
It's like stuff with the
like stuff with city, like
Not
government and
not
things.
like
or?
I don't think he ever dealt with like the huts or anything, but I think like
Government,
dealing with
the huts.
yeah,
Duh.
dealing with gangs, and I think he
Just on his land?
did other stuff while he was there, like trying to do good,
On his cave land.
trying to do good while he can.
No.
Since he's there and not leaving because he has to watch over Luke forever. And I doubt he's leaving Tatooine during any of that time because, as soon as he takes his eye off Luke, that's when something's going to happen and Vader's going to come show up and take him away. Even though I guess he doesn't know that Vader doesn't know he has a kid yet. Maybe he always has that that possibility of maybe
Vader
he found
doesn't
out.
find out that he has a son
Well, yes, we know that.
during A New Hope.
Yeah,
though.
we know that.
do
We
you
know
mean?
we know when Vader at least finds out that he has a son. That's his son.
And when is that again?
He realizes during the whole trench stuff on the Death Star, does he not? Isn't that when he realizes?
I could have sworn he knew before then.
He
Haven't we talked about this before?
we talk about a lot of stuff.
Didn't I feel
You
like
and I
we
have probably talked about most of this before, but I don't know about on the podcast.
That's what I mean on the podcast.
Oh.
Haven't we talked? I'm pretty sure. I have to think now.
I don't know if he knew yet.
Yeah, because doesn't Palpatine tell him about it in Tarkin? Or somewhere around there. And it was either Tarkin or the comics.
Oh wait! He finds out in the comics. That's right. The Vader comic. He finds out he has a son.
Yes.
No, yeah, I remember
Palpatine tells him, right?
Yes.
Or some. Yeah,
Yes,
I was.
but
Palpatine.
but as far as Obi-Wan knowing when Vader knows,
Oh yeah, who knows what
Like,
Obi-Wan
he
knows?
probably always has that in the back of his mind of I've got to watch over Luke because maybe Vader found out and now this is the day he's coming to get him type thing.
Sure.
So I doubt he's ever leaving Tatooine during that time.
That's right. We did talk about that because I was trying to figure out last time we talked about it why is Vader so surprised in A New Hope?
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, this guy. That's what it was. Like he
Continue.
rolls up on Luke's X-wing and he's like, oh, this.
Like a gang fight.
He rolls up on his rear, and it's getting worse,
Is
isn't
he on
it?
a Scooty Puff Jr.? What's
What? A what?
a Scooty Puff Jr.? That's from
A sit and
Futurama.
spin? Oh.
Anyways, continue.
He
Zips on up there.
yeah, scoots in there and is like, oh, the force is strong with this one. And he's like, oh, force strong, force user. Oh, well, beep, beep. Blew him up.
Okay, what does that have to do with
Something
your
like
point?
that. I'm trying to figure out why that didn't ring any bells in Vader's head.
Oh,
Like if he knows he has
yeah.
a son,
Yeah, we did talk about this on the show.
if he
That
knows he has a
he
son, why didn't that set any alarms off? Like, oh, I wonder, a force user trying to
It's the
destroy.
only one I've felt in a long time.
Yeah, I killed everybody else.
Well, obviously,
Oh,
Lucas-
just must be another one. Just
yeah.
here to destroy my Death Star at the last second.
Lucas wasn't planning on there being every other piece of media having stories told about Star Wars at that point.
Ugh.
You want him to go back and change it again? Do you want him to fix that part?
Obviously, I know why it happened, but
Okay.
but why did it happen?
Because he didn't know that it would happen.
Why did the other stories force us into thinking about this?
Fair point. It's everyone else's fault.
Exactly.
George Lucas did the right thing.
No, wait, that's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
Wait a second.
I don't know. I think it would be cool to have Ewan McGregor play Obi-Wan again. I don't
Definitely.
know how that would be an interesting story if he's stuck on Tatooine.
Yeah.
There would have to be something big happening on Tatooine for him to deal with.
Or
For it
somewhere.
to be interesting.
Yeah, or somewhere. I was thinking if he hadn't have dropped Luke off on Tatooine, like right at the end of whatever that movie was, Revenge of the Sith.
There you go.
Like maybe he could have some kind of adventure and then settle down somewhere, but I don't know. I don't know.
'Cause he took him straight there.
Yeah, I don't know what it would be now.
It's him. Maybe it's the story of him buying his hut on Tatooine,
Didn't Yoda
renovating it. I don't know what.
Yoda landed on Dagobah at the end of Revenge of the Sith, right?
He went into hiding. I don't know if it showed us Dagobah or not. I don't remember.
Because he had his little egg ship, right? Didn't he?
Yeah, I think so.
His little ET.
His little ET.
ET
Like a
egg
miniature
ship.
ET ship.
Yeah.
It reminded me of the like the training ship pod from Dragon Ball.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it does look like that.
The one they go into, like the
Yeah.
the chamber that's like has higher gravity and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it reminded me of, but still smaller. That's pretty funny.
I was just thinking Yoda mentioned something about he had to go learn, or he was talking about Qui-Gon and how Qui-Gon contacted him and was teaching him the ways of the living force.
Yeah.
Like that was why.
I mean, we got that in the Clone Wars too. Stuff with Qui-Gon and Yoda and all that.
Like him and Obi-Wan learned basically how to become a Force ghost.
Yeah, because apparently until Qui-Gon, with the new canon, until Qui-Gon, no one else had figured that out.
No one had done that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And since Qui-Gon was all connected to the living force, like that was his deal.
Yeah.
He like taught Yoda, and then Yoda taught everyone.
Oh, speaking of Yoda, since we'll go ahead and segue from us rambling about something that happened that doesn't matter at all. Apparently,
It's Star Wars. Everything matters.
Yeah, I know.
What are you talking about?
So Frank Oz is in the UK, and he's going to the Pinewood Studios, and he's in the UK for work
Now?
currently.
Huh.
So he's in.
Why would he be
making Star Wars? Confirmed. Was able to confirm.
Is he doing a puppet? A Force Ghost puppet?
They confirmed he was in the UK for work, and it's confirmed that he's visiting Pinewood Studios, where Episode 8 is being filmed.
Oh, okay.
So there's no confirmation he's definitely working on Star Wars.
Sure.
He could just be visiting as a consultant, saying, "Hey, puppets look good. Hey, you should change this," type thing. Or maybe he's doing some live reads for a part with the Force Ghost.
Huh.
Maybe he's doing a puppet for a Force Ghost. I don't know.
That's interesting.
No one, obviously there's a lot of speculation, but the fact that he's visiting Pinewood and he's supposedly, it's confirmed he's in the UK for work.
Yeah.
He could be doing anything else, obviously, while he's there.
Wow.
But
That's interesting.
I think it would be very interesting if if he did anything, obviously in Star Wars is great.
If he was involved in any capacity.
So like I said, he could just be consulting on other puppets, or just consulting on general things, or just visiting, like how
See,
they
what you want to do is have a hole where your hand goes into. Makes it a lot easier. So just try again. Come back when you got it figured out.
Teddy bears duct taped to a stick. What?
He's a puppet consultant. See,
This is what we came up with. Does that work? No.
That's one of those things you pull and the arms go up and down.
Just up and down. They pull the string at the bottom
Yeah.
and the arms wave. Yeah, so I hope he's not just consulting. It would be really interesting if maybe there's some Yoda involvement on
Yeah, wow,
with
that'd be
Luke
really,
and Rey.
that'd be really cool.
That would be interesting.
Some kind of Yoda talking.
I mean, I assume he's still a Force ghost.
Yoda? Yeah.
I mean,
He showed up at the end of
they were
Return
all
of the
hanging out on
Jedi.
the fence.
Yeah.
Like Andy Griffith at the end of Return of the Jedi.
Was it a fence? Was it really a fence?
I'm pretty sure.
Now that I think about it, it really did look like a fence.
I'm pretty sure it was a fence. It was like a railing, I guess, maybe for the Ewoks.
And Obi-Wan, he was standing, right?
Yes.
Yoda wasn't. Yoda was like
I think Yoda was sitting on the fence.
Yoda's head was like shoulder
I think he was
height.
sitting on the fence.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna
And
say he was
then
kind of up there
Anakin was there in
doing his
multiple
little
forms. Angst.
I'm here.
Yeah.
That was
so,
it, right? Just the
obviously
three?
they were still Force ghosts at that point, but
Why wasn't Qui-Gon there?
cause
Why didn't they add Qui-Gon?
Let's go back to George Lucas not knowing that anything else would happen.
But he edited it to add Anakin.
That's true. And Ewok eyelids.
Why didn't he add Qui-Gon?
That's a good question.
I mean, was there something? I'm sure there's some dumb explanation for why Qui-Gon isn't there.
Well, he had a hole in his stomach.
What?
He got stabbed. He was.
Oh,
That's how he died.
you meant like there was something leaking, or I don't know
I'm
why
sure there was.
Oh,
Well, no, I guess it got cauterized by the sword, so I don't know. Whatever.
Like they couldn't show him because he had a hole in his stomach.
Just a big gaping hole like straight through him in the Force Ghost. Ugh.
Well, I mean, Anakin showed up as his, like, the best version of himself, which is such a
Arguably
dumb...
the worst version of himself.
Which, oddly enough, was with his long hair, which was when he was,
when he
like,
was the
shittiest.
douchiest, like the worst person
Yeah.
in the whole Star Wars system.
I guess personality-wise, he was the worst as a Padawan.
Yeah.
Because he was just awful.
a dick.
Just an awful person.
But the one that showed up as a Force Ghost was the one that was force cutting fruit for his girlfriend.
No, he had the long hair. That was when he was a Jedi Knight at that point.
Well,
That was like Revenge of the Sith era. Or after
That's-
Attack of the Clones, at
again,
least.
but that's when he started to be dark too. So
That's
how is that
that's
his
what I'm
best-
saying.
how is that his best?
Personality-wise, his worst was then, but then, like, as far as connection to the Force...
He was never good.
Yeah, he was never that.
No.
Maybe before he...
Nope.
No?
Everything that was done with that was wrong.
Why wasn't Qui-Gon there?
I would rather Qui-Gon have been there than Anakin have been there. But Luke would have been like, "Who the hell? What? Who are you?
Who's this
Who's
guy?
the fourth ghost? Ghost."
Didn't Luke have some kind of contact with Qui-Gon at some point?
That we know about.
Or no, maybe that was Anakin. That's right. Qui-Gon contact or
in Clone
Ahsoka.
Wars, right?
Qui-Gon
In the
contacted
show.
Ahsoka. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. Like that's when we found out that Qui-Gon had made it to be a Force Ghost.
Right.
Was in the TV show.
And there was that whole season 6 thing with Yoda, like, talking to Qui-Gon and kind of trying to learn about
Trying
how
to learn it. Yeah.
yeah, how to do that kind of stuff.
That's another thing with Ahsoka possibly dying in Rebels. If she did die, if maybe she's a Force Ghost, not too, because of Qui-Gon. But
Everybody's a Force ghost.
everyone's a Force Ghost on the inside. No, but
George
what were we even
Lucas.
talking? We were talking about Frank Oz.
For work, yeah.
Yeah.
Was Kevin Smith at Pinewood Studios for work when he visited the set?
And he was just invited to visit,
Okay.
which Frank Oz could be as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Was he just
You
invited?
invite Kevin Smith because he's a giant fan, but he doesn't do.
Yeah, he was
things
never
anymore?
involved. He was never like a character, like one
Yeah.
of the main
I
characters.
don't think you invite Frank Oz to your studio
just to visit.
like we're making another Star Wars movie. You want to just look at stuff? Like we're making a Star Wars. Can you do anything?
Yeah.
You just like can your finger be in a shot? Anything?
Didn't he do something in 7? Like didn't he provide like an additional voice
Did he
or
he
do
not
a
the
puppet
Yoda-
or something?
Didn't he do the Yoda voice in Rey's Vision or no?
Well, yeah, he
I
did
thought he re-recorded that.
that, but then I thought he was involved in something else too.
Maybe some of the puppets in the cantina.
I thought I remember seeing that in the credits somewhere.
I would imagine.
Yeah, like he was in the cantina
I would
somewhere.
imagine as long as he's still alive, they would try and involve him in Star Wars.
Yeah,
Especially since they went back and are now doing it with actual puppets and not a lot of green
mostly.
things.
Yeah. Hmm.
Except for the scenes where they have to use BB-8 with that guy that's attached by the sticks.
That's one of the things I'm really looking forward to is watching that behind the
I
scenes.
saw a GIF today of BB-8 with the like when he's like running into the base.
Yeah.
Like when he's like rolling really fast. The guy's just like hauling ass down the road with his in his
little
blue
wheelbarrow.
suit with his sticks, just like running with BB-8. It was really funny.
This little BB-8 wheelbarrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch that.
Yeah.
Our stupid Blu-rays are delayed. We'll get them tomorrow. Everyone else is getting them today, and some people yesterday.
We both pre-ordered it from Target.
Yeah, like weeks and weeks ago. We
Yeah,
talked about
months
it
ago.
several shows
Which I mean,
ago.
there's a Target like across the street from where I live, so I could have just bought it on day one. I didn't
Yeah.
have to pre-order it, but they're late. I think they'll be here
That's the point of pre-ordering is that you get it
tomorrow. I
the
think.
morning of the day.
That's Amazon
at your doorstep.
Yeah, Amazon will do that. They even get it to. They got it to a lot of people early.
Yeah, the day before. The
Yeah,
4th. Yesterday,
Ours
right?
is still delayed, and as of recording, it'll probably be here tomorrow.
Yeah. Sucks.
Hopefully.
So we could have we could have watched something, but stupid.
Yeah, I did see a
Pre-orders.
little. People were posting pictures and stuff all online.
Yeah, because everybody
You know,
has
the,
it.
you know the Blu-ray logo? When
Yeah.
it pops up on screen, it's the B with like the swoosh and it says
Yeah.
Blu-ray underneath. When you put in your Star Wars DVD Blu-ray,
Mm-hmm.
it says blue REY Blu-ray disc.
I was gonna say something about BB-8. Like the little bee was. That was a good.
Okay. Maybe I could do his voice for the next movie.
You could be a
Instead of Ben
consultant.
Schwartz. Beep boop bop, beep boop bop. Is that?
I'm BB-8 over here. It's me, Ball Droid. Just stealing Paul F. Tompkins' bits.
Shout out to Paul F. Tompkins as BB-8.
You think Paul F. Tompkins will ever listen to this?
No.
You don't think so? Anybody out there know Paul F. Tompkins? Because I'd love to meet him. We could have him on the show.
Can he stay at my house? No, he'll never hear this, and if he does, it'll kill him.
I'm sorry.
The lack of talent will blow his head off.
Let's have him on the show.
Okay, I'll get on that.
Just get a hold of your agent.
Let me get my Paul phone.
Paul phone.
Yeah, it's like that big. It's like the red phone, just on my desk,
shaped like a pea.
Sure. I don't know how that works.
How would you talk on that?
In case of Paul use phone, there's like a little plaque on it.
That right next to it is in case of Paul. In case of phone, use Paul.
And it's just like a dude named Paul standing there.
I'm Paul. I don't know what the phone. This is the phone. The phone rings.
Does Paul answer it? And then there's
Paul. You pick up Paul by his legs and smack the phone with him.
You just point at Paul and point at the phone, and he has to answer it.
Paul.
Paul, phone.
You. What are we talking about?
I don't know. We were talking about the Blu-ray.
That's a good T-shirt.
in case of phone use Paul. How is that a good T-shirt?
Because it doesn't make any sense.
It's the conversation starter.
It doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense at all.
All right.
Moving on.
That's our episode title.
In case of phone use Paul. All right. Yeah, that's the title. So we were talking about the Blu-ray, which is late for us. But we, stuff coming out and seeing pictures and things like that.
Yeah.
Even actors are commenting on things, and there's more, I guess, interview type stuff coming out. EW is doing all this week about.
Well, do you want to talk about the Ray's Vision thing real quick that you had on there? We haven't talked about that yet. That was part of someone screen grabbed. I assume it was from the Blu-ray or from the home release, right?
Yeah, we can get into that. Now that it's out, people are obviously nitpicking every scene in the movie, but they were specifically looking at Ray's vision. There's a scene of one of the quick flashes in Ray's vision is a shot of what looks to be the Knight of Ren that has like that rice patty hat on, like that rounded helmet.
So I'm remembering this now from the movie, like actually watching it. I thought it was one of the people that were scattered around. Because that's kind of what it looked like. Because I remember it cut.
Like, did they all have those hats?
It cut when it was cutting to. I don't know. I can't remember when it was cutting to the shot of the Knights of Ren in the rain. Mm-hmm. That was the first part. Was he shoved his lightsaber through somebody, right? And then it kind of molded into some
other stuff. That was a lot closer up.
That wasn't the first thing, but that was part of the vision. Yeah, I thought it was just him killing somebody.
Yes, I mean, that's what it looked like, but with the screen grab, and I'll have to find it and tweet it, but it looked a lot like one of the Knights of Ren that was in that wider shot, and it looked like Kylo was stabbing them through from behind. One theory is that if it is a Knight of Ren, that Kylo was killing that knight to protect Rey during the ransack of the Jedi temple.
That was a theory that...
Yeah, that's one of the theories I saw.
Someone posted with the image, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So, if we're to assume that Rey was involved with Luke prior, without her remembering of it as a small child, if she was part of that Jedi Academy, and Kylo knows who she is, which it kind of seems like he does.
Yeah.
And this goes back to our theory, or my theory, of the fact that maybe Kylo is the one that dropped her. Like, Kylo had her dropped off on
Yeah,
Jakku,
we talked about that. Yeah.
If during that ransack, he protected her because of whoever she is or what she is.
Yeah.
If he protected her, if a Knight of Ren, or maybe it wasn't even one of the Knights of Ren, maybe it was just one of his people that was helping ransack the
Went
temple,
to kill her, and he
was like about to kill her, and he protected her
Yeah.
by killing him. That's the theory I saw, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
Gives him there's more depth to that relationship than so I thought that was very. I need to get my
interesting
stupid
theory.
Blu-ray whenever it shows up and look at it myself. But
Yeah.
from the screen grab, it did look a lot like one of the Knights of Ren. The guy with the rounded like helmet that looked like a rice paddy field
Really?
hat. And in that scene, like you were talking about, the wider shot with all the bodies lying around.
Yeah.
And like the way background, the back right, there's like what looks to be the outline of a temple-ish looking building.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice. I didn't see that.
People are also assuming that's possibly the Jedi Temple.
That's what I'm
or
thinking. It
wherever
has to
Luke was-
be.
wherever Luke was maybe training them.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like a very faint like shape of spire, like a spirey type building
Right.
back there.
Because everything else tied to the Knights of Ren adds up to them killing everybody,
Yeah.
and that's the big thing that went down that caused Luke to split. You know?
Yeah, and I think just thinking about it now, like, they told us he's a Knight of Ren, and that's why it's like it's a name, Ren, Kylo Ren,
Yeah.
because he is a Ren, a Knight of Ren. Do you think we're gonna get any of that story of the Knights in the movies,
In 8, you think,
or in any of the movies, or do you think that's gonna be left to something else?
I think it has to be in one of the movies, right? Because they showed it in her vision. I mean, maybe.
Obviously, that a lot of that is to help build the character as a pre-existing, stuff happened to make this happen.
But that vision
we'll
was
probably-
presented as like the Force letting Rey look into all of these
and
things.
Maybe I'm assuming we'll get the story of Kylo leaving and what happened, and maybe,
Yeah, I assume that.
maybe a bit of the Knights of Ren, but maybe not very in depth.
Well, yeah, maybe not in depth, but what I think is going to happen is at some point in 8, Luke is going to explain to either Rey or probably Rey. That makes the most sense. And
But-
then they're going to do
Is it going to
like
be
flashbacks.
Is it going to be just he joined, just kind of explaining it away to be explained elsewhere in depth, like, he joined the Knights of Ren, they are this, and this is what happened to him, but we're not going to really go into what
Yeah, I guess it's
the whole length of his time with them type
It
thing.
depends. I mean,
How quickly they're going to move past that.
Obi-Wan's explanation of the Clone Wars was super like
Yeah.
just cursory,
Yeah.
And then we got that whole show that explained a lot more of it, but
So I'm wondering how much they're going to.
we never
Explain that.
saw any of the Clone Wars like on screen in any of the original trilogy.
I'm assuming we'll get
Whereas
flashback
this we
shots
saw-
of young Kylo. At some point, we've got to get young Kylo story with an actor playing young Kylo, right?
Maybe, yeah. I would think they're more likely to tell about what went down with the Knights of Ren, at least that night, more than maybe
you've gotta
Kylo's
see,
backstory.
If we know he's Han and Leia's son,
Yeah,
so we have to assume he trained with Luke.
yeah.
So they have to visually show the seeds that were planted to make him.
That's
turn.
what I'm wondering, if they'll do some kind of flashback
because-
sequence
like
or
Leia
something
mentions that Snoke made the dark side look, appealing to him.
Right.
So we've got to see those. How was Snoke even involved at that point?
That's
with
true.
Him? What was planted to make him leave in the first place? Like, we've got to see young Kylo, right?
Do you
We've got
think
to see
Snoke was...
a flashback of young Kylo and Luke and everyone happy and doing training stuff? Like, I would expect that.
Do you think Snoke was involved in the temple somehow?
Like, he was playing like he was a double agent type thing.
Double agent, or maybe he had good intentions at first and just got seduced by the dark side.
No,
Well, yeah, I guess that wouldn't really work because he's pretty heavily invested in the dark side.
I think he's way too dark to not.
I was just thinking that would explain how he knows Luke, or knows so much about Luke, and knows how powerful he is, apparently.
And I mean, he
And-
had to have been close enough, yeah, to seduce.
Yeah, it would
to
explain.
seduce Ben.
Yeah, being close to Ben.
So what was his involvement with?
Because if
them?
Ben was being trained by Luke, I imagine he was pretty sheltered during that period, right? Like
I don't.
Luke probably had a close eye on him. Maybe
So he had to have been fairly involved with their group. Maybe he was like Palpatine. Maybe he was just like a chancellor, senator type person that was just around, but
yeah,
totally super evil.
maybe.
Just wasn't wrinkled up yet.
Yeah, and then something maybe happened, or
Obviously,
I don't
he looks
know.
super scarred up when we see his.
Yeah,
Maybe we'll see him not like that.
and Ben looks up.
Oh, maybe he doesn't look like that, and then that whole temple ransack, Luke and him fight, and
It's maybe, yeah,
Luke messes him up.
maybe.
That'd be really cool.
But I mean, Ben obviously Snoke is super invested in the dark side, and Ben really looks up to him. So,
Literally.
and
Sorry.
um,
Yeah, but yeah, for him to have seduced him, it wasn't just like him sending mind bullets across the
I
universe.
thought you were gonna say sending him like letters.
Dear Ben Solo,
XX.
you haven't met me.
Big hug,
But I see
little
you.
kiss, little kiss. Big hug, little hug.
Yeah, that's exactly how it'll go down.
For some reason, I imagined like a singing telegram at first when he started to sing that. Like somebody showed up at
Like a mariachi band shows up. Just like a singing Valentine type thing.
yeah.
Sending him like giant teddy bears.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Exactly like
He gives him the best presents at his birthday.
Yeah.
No, yeah, that story will be really, really interesting. I guess I've never. Obviously, I think we've talked about it before with how Snoke would have had to be involved, but I guess I never really thought about how deeply involved he would have had to have been with their circle to be able to seduce Ben.
It's
right?
either that or no, because he was.
Or is
I would
Ben
assume
just-
he had some kind of dark side training before all the
Snoke.
crap went down. No, before all the crap
Yeah.
went down with the temple. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying Ben had to have been in contact with Snoke for a little while and been training before the crap with the temple.
Yes.
Right?
Maybe I'm assuming Snoke is involved with the Knights of Ren. Somehow.
I don't know. That seems like Kylo's thing.
Like he started it?
Well, just because of his obsession with Vader. Yeah, he was their leader, wasn't he?
Maybe?
He was the only guy with a lightsaber.
I guess.
I can't imagine someone who doesn't have a lightsaber is leading
In
that.
Aftermath, though, we get that group of acolytes of the Beyond who buy Vader's saber off that guy selling it.
So you think it existed before Kylo?
I'm assuming Snoke had to have some kind of... I mean, even that temple-looking place on
I guess we need to just
their planet with, on Starkiller Base. Like, he had to have had some kind of cult following.
the temple place. Oh, right.
Where his big hologram
The
was.
big audience room.
It was like pews. Like, it was like a church almost. With his big hologram at one end.
But you really think there's like Sith acolytes on Starkiller Base?
Maybe he had a group of people, like maybe like the Knights of Ren. Maybe that wasn't Kylo's thing, but Snoke used them to seduce
Maybe.
Ben.
Maybe.
And it wasn't necessarily directly Snoke.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm just assuming that whoever this was that bought Vader's saber in Aftermath has to do with Snoke somehow. Possibly.
Or at the very least the Knights of Ren.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And talking about Kylo's character development, and that's what
So you think there's interrupt real quick.
Yeah.
You think there's a group of like Vader obsessed people?
Well, there are in Aftermath. They call themselves the Acolytes of the Beyond, and
they're obsessed
they
with
buy
Vader.
Vader's saber, and they say they have to destroy it. They have to burn it to return it to its master.
Okay.
That's what they say.
And that's pretty soon after Vader died too.
Yeah, I mean that's an Aftermath, so that's like months maybe.
Yeah, maybe no more than a couple years, right?
Aftermath's it's not that long after.
Well,
It's within a couple
when in the
years.
book does this happen? Because it's not a part that I've read. It's towards the end, isn't it?
No,
It's not?
maybe halfway through.
I haven't even gotten that. Maybe I should
It's
read
just
that.
one of those. It's like one of those quick chapters where it's just like showing blurbs of things happening in the
Oh,
universe.
one of the little side
Yeah.
things, side stories. Yeah.
It's not involved with the actual Aftermath story,
Okay.
the storyline of the book. It's just one of those chapters of like
Gotcha.
elsewhere this thing's happening. Kind of like there's that chapter of that guy who finds Boba Fett's armor and
Yeah.
takes it. That kind of stuff.
The new sheriff of Nottingham. Whatever.
Yes. He says he's like the sheriff of Tatooine. He's the sheriff of
Yeah.
not Tatooine, but of that city with the stuff. The wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Mos Eisley?
Wasn't that no? Not I guess not
That's
Mos
Mos
Eisley
Eisley.
directly, but like that town, whatever. Who's the? I guess the sheriff. Maybe you just said he was the sheriff of Tatooine. I can't remember
Badlands?
exactly.
I don't know.
But we mentioned earlier, I mentioned it, and then we got way off track as we always do about how EW is running. They're running a thing all the week of April 4th, that Monday through the Friday. They're every day they're doing like a behind the scenes type thing for the
Yeah.
release week of the DVD,
Right.
Blu-ray. And they had a story. They had a story on the Monday, the 4th. They had a story about how Luke was involved with the table read.
Mark Hamill.
Mark Hamill was involved with the table read.
Yeah.
Yes, but and this will come back to Kylo in a second. But to start off, JJ was talking. They interviewed JJ, and he was saying, it wouldn't be right to not have Mark Hamill at the table read, but at the same time, he didn't have any lines, so
Right.
it felt wrong to have him there and not have him do anything.
Yeah.
But he also knew they were having pictures taken for that day too, so they had to have him there.
They had to make it look like he had a more
Yes.
of a role in the movie. Yeah.
But like he was saying, it felt bad to have him there and not do anything, so he had him read the direction of the script.
Nice.
So obviously everyone were doing their lines and everything, but he was actually giving the actual written direction for the scenes.
Sweet. Yeah.
And he agreed to do it. And of course he's been voice acting for forever. So
Right.
it made it that much more, I guess, involved to have Luke's voice directing the scenes that, of the movie.
During the read. Yeah.
So it's like he was involved, but not at the same time. It's interesting. But this leads to what came out on the 5th of April. It's in regards to Kylo, and this helps build some of his really dark story too. So there's that scene in The Force Awakens where he slams his helmet down into that pile of ash.
As he's about to interrogate Rey
Yes.
on Starkiller Base.
And that's where it's shown in the movie. Everyone's always been wondering why is there a pile of ashes, and
Yeah.
why does he have ashes? Are they Vader's ashes? Are they something involved with that? So apparently, obviously movies get cut to bits and put back together when they're so that ash scene with him slamming his helmet down was for an earlier scene in the movie prior to the interrogation. So they were planning on us seeing his face way earlier than we did with Rey. But he liked that scene so much because with the Rey interrogation, he took off his helmet and just kind of gently sat it down on a piece of equipment, like a table, and it didn't look intimidating or anything.
The coffee table.
Yeah. So they used that scene with him slamming it down into the ash just to add, because they had to cut that previous scene.
Oh.
Or changed it because they probably didn't want to show his face that early anyways. And there's some questions I have stuff to mention about this afterwards, but so the backstory is that this is directly JJ's quote. The backstory is that table has the ashes of the enemies he's killed. Super, super dark. That moment was shot for and meant to be used in the scene where he was talking to the Vader mask. So originally, when he was talking to the Vader mask, he was unmasked talking to it.
Right.
But they left it. They changed it so he had his mask on. So that is a pile of ashes of his enemies. So first off, this is something you and I talked about last episode. Are deleted scenes still canon?
Well, and plus that, to add to that, this was the only reason we know this is because it was pulled from a quote
From the director.
from
of the film.
JJ,
Yes.
who was just kind of talking offhand,
Yes.
explaining it.
But he's
So
writer and director. That it was meant to be a pile of the ashes of his enemies. That was the purpose of that table.
Yes,
and the
but
ashes.
but that was never explained on screen. I guess is my point.
Yes.
So
does it carry over as canon that
Right.
he does that? Obviously, he has flame troopers, which we didn't have before, so he's very fond of burning stuff.
burning those baskets.
Oh, those baskets.
He really
man.
hates those baskets.
Yeah, that guy.
You think that was Kylo's call, or was that just the stormtrooper, the flame trooper?
Burning the baskets?
Yeah, just like, screw these baskets.
Before they go down, Kylo's like, if you see baskets, by God, you burn them. Yes, sir.
Or do you think it's
He's just like running around looking for baskets.
the flame? That's his only job.
Have you seen baskets? Have you seen baskets? Anybody? Baskets? Baskets? No baskets? All right, I'll sit here. And wait.
Baskets!
Oh God, baskets! Good. All right. Job done.
He just goes back and walks back
Yeah.
onto the ship.
3 baskets, sir. Good job, Smith.
there's like a bunch of them on the ship. Got 3 of them this time.
They don't even kill people. They just start burning all the baskets and then get back on their ship and fly out.
That's what I'm saying. Their only job is to burn the.
The people only died because they got in the way of the baskets. They were all holding baskets.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh no. But so if that's obviously that doesn't have to continue as canon, and the further directors don't have to keep that as canon.
Yeah.
I think it's very interesting and leads to a very much darker character than I thought he was if he was still struggling with light and dark. That's a pretty dark thing to do.
Which was kind of. That's what led me to wonder. I mean, is it really just all the, like, his enemies, quote unquote, that he's killed, or are these important people that he wants to remember that he's killed? Like
the Jedi Temple.
Right. That's what I was thinking. Are these all of the? But that would be pretty morbid because they would all be kids, right?
Probably.
I assume.
Yeah. I mean, Anakin sliced up a bunch of kids.
But he didn't keep their bodies with him.
You don't know. He had a necklace of toes. I don't know. You don't
Under
know.
his suit.
Yeah.
So
Children's teeth. I don't know. I don't know.
Jeez.
He was messed up. I don't know what he did.
Wasn't that in like Jeepers Creepers? Didn't he have like a bunch of like relics? The guy, the Mothman guy.
I don't remember.
You don't remember Jeepers Creepers?
Oh, he had like
the Scarecrow guy.
He had a room full of bodies of skin. He had like a skin room.
Yeah, that was skin. That's what it was. Yeah. I don't know why I thought of that.
Just had a room full of skin.
Yeah, what was I saying?
Children's teeth. Oh, okay.
These people have to be important, right? You would think.
Just to keep their ashes. It's not like villagers, like that kind of thing.
Because he seemed to be struggling a lot more than what you would think someone who does that would struggle.
Yeah.
Struggle with the light side, I mean. Like
Yeah,
someone who kills people, burns them, and then keeps their ashes in a table where he sets his stuff on top of
They
it.
didn't explain it because they needed that was too dark for the character.
So then is
struggling?
is it canon?
So the question
then?
is it canon?
Yeah.
And if it's never explained other than this, like if it's not in the visual dictionary and there's not like a picture of this ash pile that says body of his enemies.
Body is a little pointer to it.
Pile of enemy body bones. Like, I don't... Yeah, unless it's explained like that, I guess we have to assume it's not canon. Or it's just head canon until explained otherwise.
Yeah.
I like the idea that it is because that's super dark.
Yeah.
Like he's trying to be more hardcore than he is. Like he's still struggling, but he's like trying to be evil.
He's fronting.
Thank you. Whitest person ever.
He's fronting.
That man's fronting. Daddy, look. That man's fronting. Yes, son. He is fronting.
Who are you?
Daddy!
I don't have a son. You're at least 30 years old.
You're fronting too.
Daddy. Daddy, you be fronting.
Instead of a 30-year-old.
Yeah. Anyway.
I think we've lost it.
Yeah, I'd like to find out more about that. That's kind of cool. I really hope we get more backstory about like the Knights of Ren and what happened at the temple,
Yeah.
and it'll fill in a lot of gaps. I think if we can get that in 8.
It would be nice if they would, like, there's the next. They have a couple books coming out. They have the next Aftermath. They have New Republic book,
Yeah.
Bloodlines, and they have this Ahsoka book coming out. There's still no media coming out that involves anything
After-
explaining the character, like filling in anything.
You mean
I guess, I
after
mean, obviously-
after Force Awakens or during? You mean?
Like, yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
The only thing we have with the characters is just like we have Finn, Rey, and Poe with just like small bits of how their life played out, like just before the Force Awakens type thing.
Okay. Yeah.
We have, Finn was brought in as a stormtrooper as a child.
Yeah.
Rey was a child on Jakku. She doesn't remember anything before that. And Poe was a pilot, and he was really good. Like, that's all we know. So are they just saving everything for the films? Are we not getting any filler until after 8, and then maybe they can start explaining some stuff otherwise?
I bet what's happening is they're waiting until all of these films have been written, because they're leaving
Space.
a lot of these big story like pieces, these set pieces, up to the writers of the movie.
I would hope.
You know?
I mean, obviously in 8, we're going to get some explanation of something that fills
Well,
in the
I would
gaps.
hope so.
Obviously,
Yeah.
we're going to see Luke. We're going to get explanation
Yeah.
of what happened with Luke.
Right.
And so we'll have that. This is what happened with Luke.
Yeah.
And we know where he is now.
Right.
So maybe once 8 comes out, then we'll actually start getting media surrounding The Force Awakens. Like
Probably,
before and
yeah.
after, and a tiny bit in between, because you can't fill
Yeah.
in too much because you need room for the 9th movie.
Yeah.
So are we really going to have to wait 2 years to have any other media? I guess not, a year and a half. 2 years? A year and a half, I guess, at this point.
Yeah, year and a half. Yeah, next year, end of next year.
So we're really going to have to wait a year and a half to get any filler, like fill in of what's happening with these people, because they haven't
I'm sure.
formally given us what's happened
Well,
with
I'm
them.
sure as it gets close. Well, I mean,
Like, as of
all
right
of
now,
these books are planned out to the end of the year, right?
like right now, I think the only thing they could give us that wouldn't ruin anything is Han's story after he left Leia.
Yeah, because that's it for him.
They could
Nothing else going on with Han.
They could very carefully explain that explain away that Ben has gone to the dark side in that book. If this was a thing, they could explain that Ben went to the dark side.
I think
they
could
show
even
some conflict with Han and Leia about it, and then go into Han's story with what happens with him elsewhere.
Well, I think you could even just start in the middle of it and just start at Han's new smuggling career,
I guess.
and just maybe slowly fill in,
But that's the only thing that I think
story.
they could fill in without ruining too much. Hopefully that book, I would think the book, the New Republic Bloodlines, would hopefully fill in some stuff with the Republic and Leia and how it got to where it's at with the New Republic.
And maybe Han will
because
be
the New
involved
Republic's dead
somehow.
too.
Yeah.
So you can explain what happened with that now. Obviously you can't give
Which we still don't know.
Yeah, obviously you can't have a book about what happened with Luke at this point, because
Yeah.
they haven't explained what's happened with Luke yet.
Yeah.
And then there can't be anything to fill in yet. And they don't want to explain too much about Rey. And
Right.
Finn, there's not really much to explain
Other than his
other than he was a
training,
stormtrooper as a child.
basically. Yeah.
And then Poe, he was just a pilot
Just a pilot.
in the Resistance. And
I think what they're doing is just waiting for these people writing the new movies to kind of figure out what they want to do with the story.
yeah.
And then once that's all settled, then we'll get all of these gaps filled in.
Yeah, so all they could give us right now is New Republic information and what Han did in between Ben's leaving and
Yeah.
him dying.
Yeah. But all these questions about like Snoke
But you can't explain
and
anything
Kylo's
else.
training and all of this stuff.
I'd be fine. I mean,
Ben's
I
training.
hope that's what New Republic Bloodlines is about the New Republic and what happens with it. If it's not, I'm going to be super pissed, because like you can explain that now.
Yeah.
There's no reason not to, because the New Republic has all been destroyed.
For all of us that came from the EU that had all of this New Republic stuff explained
It's really
already,
annoying not knowing.
to have it all blown away, and then the Republic is just a planet blowing
All
up
we
in the
have
new
is
movie.
Aftermath explaining a little bit of the Republic forming, the very beginning of Mon Mothma and everything in the New Republic, like
Sure.
beginning. And now,
But then
it
you've
was
got
all
like
blown up.
20 something
Yeah, and
years
now
later.
it's all blown up. Multiple planets destroyed all at once, gone.
So you go from the very teensy, like itty bitty beginnings with Mon Mothma setting up her government to
fire.
a world blowing up,
Yeah.
and like a 2-second shot of someone going, "Oh no!"
Yeah, they can explain that now. So hopefully that's what.
There's
Bloodlines
so much
is.
to fill in there.
I mean, given the name New Republic Bloodlines, I don't know what to take away from that. Other than maybe,
blood donors.
sure, that's
Just take it literally. Take
Sure.
everything literally.
I would hope it would explain what happens with the New Republic and Leia and there being a resistance. But at the same time, can they really explain all that much? Because then you would have to get into the First Order, and how much do they want to get into the First Order at this point? Maybe they can just explain that it's a force that's there, but not explain where it
But
came
they
from.
did. They kind of did the same thing with the First Order, where they. I don't know. It just seemed like they kind of wrote them off a little bit.
Yeah, but at the same book, but with Snoke, can they really explain the beginnings of the First Order at all yet? Or would they just have to explain it away?
I guess that depends on whether Snoke was actually tied to the First Order or not, or whether he's just
beforehand, or if the First Order came about on its own and then he took over.
right. Yeah, because I mean, in Aftermath, we see the beginnings of this kind of Imperial offshoot.
Yeah, basically, they want to run away.
Yeah,
and regroup.
I think that's where the First Order comes from.
So,
And Snoke isn't like a Palpatine figure who kind of started the First Order, you know?
I guess.
I think he just kind of attached himself to it, just like Kylo did.
Yeah.
They both have a common enemy. I don't know. That's what it seems like.
Stuff to wait a handful of months.
So much
for those
stuff.
folks. Oh, well.
Well, I talked about enough stuff for 3 episodes worth. It's good.
Probably could have cut some of that off and gone into our super fun movie title game, but I don't know if we have time for that this episode.
No, we'll do it next one.
Yeah, we'll do it next one.
We can just record another episode after this.
We
It's
have to
just
keep
the
you-
movie
we have to
titles.
keep you guys wanting.
Wanting stuff that you never asked for.
Yep. Thanks. Anything.
So we're still on the internet, right?
I still have the internet.
Yes, so do I. I think
Okay.
last time I checked,
Yeah.
it's still in there.
There's an email address that one of us might see. That's hokeyreligionpod@gmail.com.
Yeah, I get every email.
Two ever? And they were like invitations to buy.
To
Off-
join the
off-
Google Play podcast portal.
That still doesn't exist.
Yeah, can we get our update? Our
The
updated-
Google Play podcast portal is still in non-existence.
all right. Well,
Thank you for your time.
I'll check in next episode with that.
It still won't be here.
Okay. Well, we don't know. It could
Oh,
happen.
oh.
It could happen.
It could.
Maybe.
No, probably not.
I'll check in. We'll check back in with you next week. Thanks.
No problem. Back to you.
Thanks, Greg.
We're trying to be more active on Twitter at Hokey_religion.
Tell your friends.
I've been
Share.
Tyler has been tweeting more things and
Yeah, I
retweeting more
haven't done
things.
anything with
Michael's
that.
done no work at all.
I tweeted something the other day about last time we recorded.
Something the other day, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, right. Something.
Thanks for that. For
Come on, we need 2 new followers so we can get to that even 50. And
Yeah,
I don't
that'd be
have to
nice.
keep looking at 48
it'd be
followers.
nice if we didn't have to create 2 fake accounts to follow ourselves.
We can do that, right?
Yeah, probably.
Probably should have said
We
that.
also have a YouTube channel now with the audio podcasts are uploaded there as well for, I don't know if people can't listen to it on their computer at work from iTunes or whatever people do with YouTube.
whatever your weird
It helps with SEO, but
whatever your weird deals are.
but if we ever see the need to video funny stuff or make videos of us doing things, we'll probably put them up there too. So you never know, something funny may one day happen.
maybe we'll get to see our faces. Have we shown our faces?
Yes, yours.
Oh, for the bet. That's
yeah,
right.
You paid me. But we had,
Don't
like-
I owe you
we had,
more
like-
money for something? Wasn't there some bet we made that I still owe you money for?
No, I think you backed out right before you lost.
What was it?
It was about the movie.
Okay. That I bet that the movie was going to
Be-
come out.
I don't remember what it was.
Oh.
There was something, but I forget. Anyways, that's
long-
all I've got, and I think
long
that
ag-
was enough.
How long ago did I
Did you tweet?
Tweet.
Can you not even find?
Jeez.
I tweeted the other day. Still scrolling.
Oh, 3/24. That's
Jeez.
March 24th. That's the last time I
Yeah,
tweeted.
multiple weeks ago.
And then,
So if you want to talk to Tyler, hit up Hokey_religion. Michael will.
but I do
look
get
at it.
every response.
You look at.
I
them,
just don't
you
do
see
anything
them.
with it. Well, no one's actually done anything though.
No one talks to
Come
us.
on, tweet us.
We get
What,
some
what do you got to
retweets every
lose?
once in a while.
What do you got to lose? What's wrong with Twitter? Maybe we can go get on Peach or something.
Peach.
Never heard of Peach?
The fruit?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I think
Wait,
we
we talked about
this
this.
before. People sending each other peaches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez, we have talked
recycling
about
our
this
own
one.
content.
Oh no.
Anyways, that's all for this week. This is Tyler.
This is Michael. Bye.
Probably. Bye.
Hokey religion is an ancient weapon. Hokey religion is an ancient weapon for no match for a good blaster at your side.
Well, little kids can't hear about dicks. Can't have little. What am I trying to say?
Just finish that sentence.
We can't. Never mind.
All right.
I can't say it.
You should not finish your sentence about kids and dicks.
We can't have dicks going in little kids' ears.